Kings Island recently released a video on its YouTube channel, doing a lot of teasing in advance with a countdown for everybody to check it out. But was the video misleading? Hello everyone, alongside Ryan Sir, I'm Don Helbig, and this is Tower Topics, and it starts right now.
Tower Topics is a podcast by Kings Island fans for Kings Island fans, because that's who we are, and that's who we care about. So I was really anticipating this.
Yeah, there was a lot of speculation about what it was about. I know you said that they had you. I saw a post you made on KI Central that they had your attention with it, and some were thinking it was about a new ride announcement, which they'd already announced what they were doing in 2025. So I knew it wasn't going to be something like that. I thought, and I remember telling you that I think it's just going to be some kind of a Gold Pass promo. It would be something that was not created by the park, but was created, either through what they call Wheelhouse, the Fun TV, crew, or their agency would create it, and it would be used by multiple parks. And it ended up being that way with Kings Dominion, Dorney Park, all the haunt parks, had that video. I thought the video itself, the content, was really creative, really good. The actors were good. The storyline was good. So there was nothing wrong with the video itself. But the problem that I had after watching it is you're using this video to try to get people to use their season pass to visit Halloween Haunt, or if you don't have a season pass, get one because you want to experience Halloween Haunt. And what the video depicts of what the experience of Halloween is about, that's not it. Everybody knows that's not the experience. It's not scary, intense, to that degree at all. And so if you've gone to the event, that's not it. And if you haven't gone and you go, you're going to be highly disappointed in what the experience is versus what was painted here with this video.
Yeah, I completely understand that. Now, I would say that my emotion. First of all, I concur. This is a very, very well made video. I really did enjoy it. Notice the nondescript Gold Pass. It looks exactly like a Kings Island Gold Pass, but it doesn't say any park on it because guess what? This is for all the parks. But originally I had thought that maybe the Kings Island team had come up with something, or like you said, Fun TV had come up with something that was going to directly come up with backstory for Madame Fatales or something like that, or tie all the haunts in together. That's what I initially had thought with that post on KI Central was, we were going to get a little more context, but you have made two possible predictions, and one of which was dead on. The first one was it's going to be buy your Gold Pass. The other one possibility is last chance to visit haunt because we're doing, Fright Fest next time,
Yeah, that it could be rebranded. I thought that was an outside possibility. But those are only two things that came to my mind with what they would do with this. And, during my time there would be these short videos that would be done during the Halloween season. Nothing to this degree. I mean, this is much better than what they'd done before. And like I said, it's a great video. But I think it's a little bit, misleading. And I know, we saw some different things on social media there. If you want to pull the one, reply that we saw.
Yeah, give me just a second. I'll get that pulled up. But yeah, like I said, this was clearly professionally done. I did enjoy it, but I do kind of wonder from time to time if it is an accurate representation of, what haunt offers, especially nowadays. But
yeah, I mean, it's never been to that level. I mean, that's something that, you're talking Universal.
Yeah.
With their event, with what that video depicts. So yeah, here's if you can read that. Right?
Yeah, I'll read it for you. So the Pennsylvania Roller Coaster Club at Clay PRC, they said, this was even worse than getting emails to buy a Gold Pass when I already have a Prestige Pass with the All Park Passports. This was blatantly misleading to build up the watch time of a video that tells the public nothing. It doesn't even tell you how much the pass costs. So, okay, that's fair.
Yeah, but I mean, it's echoing what I felt, when I saw this post. And so again, nothing wrong with the video. I mean, just did a great job putting it together. It's just that, I'd like to see something that's a little more realistic, a little bit more true to who and what you are for Halloween Haunt when they do these kind of videos. And I think if they did it that way, I think they'd get the same result, and, still get the people to go buy a pass and, use their pass, and nobody's leaving with any disappointment because it didn't set up an expectation that's not there.
Do you think that this sold passes for them?
I think there'll be people intrigued, to try, if nothing else, to buy at least a single day admission ticket to go check it out and see if they want to get a pass to do this all next year. So I think it does move the needle a little bit, in terms of, getting people to think about it and say that looks pretty cool. Let's go.
I mean, to me, it's kind of like I might have gone a different direction as far as the actual storytelling aspect, because at the very end, and I'll just skip to that in the video we have, it turns into a joke of like, yeah, let's go to Kings Island. And it's almost like at that point, it's kind of like a waste of your time, So to me, I felt like it kind of killed the mood, because if it was suspenseful and it's like, there's more and we have to check it out and we got to discover this or whatever, that's what would be intriguing to me. And it's like, I got to go see something. But at the end, they turn it into a joke, which may actually be a good representation of what they're doing now,
Yeah, I mean, the event itself, we've talked about this in previous episodes, recently, that it's, very polished, it's well done, but it's not this, big scare-a-thon. It's not the scariest Halloween event, in the region or the Midwest or anything. It could be talked about, it could be argued about that it was 2007 to about 2014-15 range.
Mm-hmm.
But since then, it's really, been neutered down. It's been more family friendly, I would say, than anything else. And it's a good event, but it's not what the video depicts.
So if you were still at the park and, they put out this video, let's go ahead and give the benefit of the doubt and assume like the Kings Island team had nothing to do with this and stuff. How would you defend the park if people were calling saying like, hey, your haunt is not like this product?
Well, you'd have to agree with them. Well, maybe that's one of the reasons why I'm not there anymore, Ryan, is because I would have agreed with the guest on that it's not. I always felt, you had to be honest, transparent. That's sometimes goes against, what some, PR, people do. They're more messengers. They're trying to, paint pictures and things that aren't there and stuff. What's that word they always used to use for, I don't know. But just, they're a little bit different than just being point blank, honest, direct, blunt. That was always my approach, and it worked very well for me. As a PR person working in hockey, working at Kings Island, for the years that I did PR, where the guests knew if I said something, was genuine, authentic, honest. The media knew. So I had that relationship, that credibility with everybody. So, but if this video had gone out and people had been asking me and saying, hey, Don, what's up with this video? That's not haunt. I would have said, yeah, I agree with you. It's not. But again, that might be why I'm not there anymore. I don't know.
Maybe. Did the other parks do the same thing of like a teaser and a campaign and a countdown?
Teaser, countdown, and everything. Same exact playbook.
Was this decision made above the park level by the agency, or
I would say
like
yes.
That?
I would say yeah. It was made. Probably the agency worked with it with the brand teams, and the brand teams, probably thought it was really cool. Which the video again is really cool, but I don't think they look past that. And what's the reaction going to be when people see it? Are they going to know that this isn't our event? So I think you deal with that a little bit.
Well, one thing,
but again, nothing wrong with the video. I do want to say, it's an outstanding, amazing video.
No,
it's great content. I think some of the best haunt content I've ever seen.
Yeah,
it's just not haunt.
Exactly. If they can just take what they have in the video and put it into the actual event, then we'll have a world class.
Oh, you had that. You're voted number one for the best Halloween event out there. If that's what your event
now,
is.
One thing I have noticed, and the tweet that we showed kind of alludes to this, is that a lot of people that are not involved with the park that I talk to are like, Kings Island always seems desperate with selling the gold passes. And I can see where that comes from. I mean, we talked about how, we had a listener question last week about like, I keep on getting messages for silver passes. I already have a pass. Why do I get these messages? Do you think that this is damaging in that regard?
I just think it just falls into everything else because there's just, so much flooding of season pass messaging that I think it's a lot of times it just gets lost.
Yeah.
Because there's too much of it. I think sometimes less is more.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the more that you pound the pavement and keep trying to jam it down everyone's throat, whether it's, you're seeing it on social media, then you open up your email, you got it there, then you get a a message, mobile, device message, coming from them. And you walk into the park and there's signage everywhere about buy a season pass. And I think you just tune it out after a while if it's too much, so I think if they dialed it back, I think it'd be more successful. Or if you talked about the experience, why you want to come to hunt. And then people would want to buy a pass because, hey, this was really, really good. So I think you want to get people there first. So they're trying to sell you before they give you a reason to come to the park. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a backward approach. I would try to let people know what you have, what the offerings are, why you should be coming to Kings Island, why you want to have this pass, why you need this pass, because you're going to want to go more than once. And I think if you can deliver that kind of message, that kind of sentiment out there, I think you're going to have more success selling passes than just throwing things against the wall and seeing what sticks.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when the marketing for the longest time, and I'm not saying when you were there, I'm saying even before that, into the Paramount days, was you're in the park and they try to upsell you to a pass. It pays for itself in 2 visits and stuff. I always thought that was way more effective because, hey, we're having fun. We can do this all summer for $80 or whatever it was at the time. But yeah, this whole thing of loosely.
Yeah, now of course, there wasn't social media and email and those kind of things when I was going all the time in the 80s with a season pass. So really, it was not top of mind for me about buying a season pass. I didn't see that presence for it all the time, but I knew to get one.
Yeah,
I'd see the advertising in the spring, and I knew to get it, and I knew to renew. And the approach that they had then, they talked about, just those world-class experiences all the time, in their commercials. They were even showing, they would show commercials for the live entertainment, just focus on that, for different TV spots, radio spots, but, why you wanted to come ride the beast, why you needed to ride the backwards racer. I mean, there was all these different things about the experiences. And the last thing that they, led with was season pass. It was always the product first. Then, consider a season pass. It wasn't thrown in your face like it was, in the later years, and continues to be.
There's a thing in marketing, and I don't know if this ever really came up from your standpoint, where the brand is bigger than the product, and that's a big problem. So I remember distinctly, this is just like a random event that comes to mind, was like the Banshee announcement. After the announcement, people were chanting Banshee, Banshee, because people were excited about Banshee. If people were chanting Kings Island, Kings Island, that would have been somewhat a fail, because they're not excited about what's in front of them. They're excited about almost the community they're a part of. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, Ryan. Yeah, and I went to several conferences for PR and social media, and they've got all these experts from all these different brands. Everybody, telling you how you should be marketing and promoting and all those kind of things, and taking those learnings, those key learnings that I had from attending those conferences. I really elevated the social media, numbers and metrics, engagement at Kings Island, the season ticket sales, traffic to the website, all those kind of things, were elevated by doing it the way, they talked about, in the way that I grew up in PR, learning, how to do it from some of the greats in the industry. We're talking Ruth Voss, Bill Mefford, David Mant, Jeffrey Siebert, Maureen Richmond. I mean, all these people, they knew, how to do PR. And even my hockey days, I mean, there were some legendary people there too that knew what you had to do to sell tickets. In hockey, you have to sell tickets, right? But you didn't sell tickets by trying to sell tickets. You did it through storytelling. And that's what, kept coming back at these conferences I went to, that what I had learned in professional hockey still applied to what I was doing at Kings Island, that if you have, great storytelling, you're going to sell more tickets and passes, get more interest, awareness, more people talking about you than you are by trying to focus on the sales pitch. So that's not the way it works. If you look across the chain, it's very aggressive about tickets and season passes all the time, and not so much about the storytelling about, the different rides and attractions that you have, the history. People love the history. Mm-hmm. Nothing rekindles memories for people that haven't been there in a few years than some history stuff, whether it's on your blog or your social media channels. You get the news to do something, a story on it, whether it's on TV or print. When you rekindle memories, people they sit there and they'll talk with their significant other, whatever, and they'll say, "Gosh, remember how much fun we had when we went to Kings? I remember we rode the Beast at night. Wasn't that fun? We should do that again."
Mm.
Well, you're not getting that kind of revoking of the memories and those kind of things, and just getting people excited and thinking about how much fun they had when it's buy a season pass. Camp Snoopy now open, buy a season pass. Halloween Haunt now open, buy a season pass. It doesn't resonate the same way with people as storytelling does.
Well, and coming back to the point of putting the product first. I was trying to find a good example of a photo, but I couldn't, like in a quick Google search. But I remember back in the Paramount days when they started hawking the season passes, when they had a huge display up front for Italian Job Stunt Track, and it's like, you want to ride this all next year? Guess what?
Yeah.
Get a season pass. Same with Tomb Raider. They had the big statue and more and more. But now it's like they got the river racers. I wonder if internally they realize that that's going to be kind of a disappointment because we haven't heard anything about it since the announcement. But you would think that a season pass sale would be a little bit more forward looking as far as you get to enjoy this all next year, this cool new thing. But it's not. It's bypass. You can go tomorrow if you buy a pass. Which
here's the other thing, Ryan, too. Think about this: that all the parks are a little bit different in terms of what the makeup of their attendance is, what percentage is pass holders, group sales, single day tickets. And you look at Kings Island, it's a very heavy concentration now of pass holders. So when a lot of your content, 80-something% of your content that you're putting out there is sales promotional driven to buy passes, buy tickets, and you're getting that in front of people who already have season passes, you're not inspiring them to make a visit. You're not, engaging them. You're not, rekindling those memories, getting the juices flowing, wanting them to come and have fun on those different attractions and things that they had done before. So that's why that approach, in my opinion, and it's just, comes from 30-something years of doing this stuff, is that's not the right way to go for the Kings Island market. Now, it may be the right way to go in a place like Dorney Park, where there's a lot of competition there in that area. And it's not as high of a season pass base. Worlds of Fun, not as high of a season pass base. So those kind of parks, you probably can put a little bit more emphasis on, the pass and that. But when you have a high percentage of your attendance every day as season pass holders, you're preaching to the choir there when you keep throwing out season passes. And it's just not doing you any good, because these people already have that product. Now tell them why they want to visit. That should be the focus. Why should you visit? What is going on this week? What is going on with this event? What about this event is a can't miss? Those are the kind of stories you have to be telling.
I agree. And like I've expressed this a couple of times on this program, but we're in that phase right now where it's, hey, will you please buy a season pass? We love you. Buy a season pass. Give it a couple months and you will be the biggest burden on the park. You
talk about that. I got this in the mail today.
Mm-hmm.
It's a flyer to renew before price goes up on November 4th. It's nice that they send it out, but that comes on the heels of getting emails and mobile text messages and things about buying a season pass, and going scrolling through Twitter and here's a Kings Island post. Oh, it's got a link to buy a season pass. Oh, here's so I mean, just too much of it. I think if it was dialed back a little bit, I wouldn't feel like they're trying to pressure me into renewing before that price goes up.
What would you do, just swinging back to our subject at hand, if you were going to make this short film? And this is more like a thought experiment. If you were going to give me an elevator pitch for a haunt short film that you think would be effective for messaging.
I think you pick the attractions that you have at your event, say Hotel St. Michel. And I think you do a short story built around that maze. And, that is at the park. Your audience knows that's at the park. It looks really cool. Something, we got to go do that. So I would build it around, your individual mazes and highlight on those. And every week, you've got 6 weeks of haunt. You got your 5 or 6 mazes. Do a different one each week.
I would, well, I was thinking that too, where you could have the backstory of each haunt. I think that would be ideal. But that's also, I mean,
But you could have people like terrified, like going through the Hotel St. Michel. I mean, you could do the same thing with these kind of like actors going through the maze and just being, terrified. going through Hotel St. Michel. So I think you can still take that ideal and just it translates to doing something within your own park of the different attractions that you have during Halloween Haunt.
Yeah.
Make it
But
more personalized. Make people know that you're talking about Kings Island.
yeah, my only concern would be that would be expensive to make it of this quality for all 5 or 6 or whatever it is houses. But what I would do if I was gonna have this, but it had to be like 5 or 6 parks or whatever this ended up being rolled out to, I would have it so there's product placement of the Gold Pass. Maybe it starts with them scanning into the park and then things go awry from there or something.
Right.
It's not, hey, buy a pass, see this, it's Gold Pass, So again, it comes off as desperate. And I've had people that are not involved with the park tell me that. And a big consensus out of Kings Island people is they really want you to buy that pass between August and December. And then starting January 1st, that's when you're a burden and you're just a season pass holder. You don't spend any money here. And it's like, you were begging me to buy this thing a few months ago. So,
you've got the people at the park level too, who have the capability of doing some really good video work.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that ability is there to individualize it for your parks. Now you can have this corporate one that they do, that went out to Kings Island, Kings Dominion, Dorney Park, the other haunt parks. But you can also look at that and say, hey, we should be doing this with our own things, with our own talent here at the park.
Yeah, I agree. But with that being said, like if anybody involved with this video is listening or watching or whatever, you guys did a good job. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I said excellent video. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the video itself. It's just that it doesn't align with the experience.
Okay. Well, so I have on my notes, you want to talk about a situation a group of pass holders encountered? Yeah,
I do.
Full disclosure, I have no idea where this is going.
This really bothers me. What I was informed of, several different pass holders shared the same story with me. A couple of them, when I was at the park, had some by email, some through like Facebook Messenger and that. But the country show, which I loved, at Kings Island toward the end of its run in August. After a show, one of the performers came off the stage and approached the group of the pass holder, the regulars who like going to Kings Island to watch the shows. That's what they do. Got in their face, lashed out at them in a really harsh way, yelling at them for taking pictures, telling them that nobody wants them to be taking their pictures, started calling them, names, different accusations and things. They said not only the country show cast, but they even said Retrospect doesn't like you doing this either. So they're doing the bidding, apparently for all these other performers and that. If they weren't acting alone, they were doing the bidding for others. But I was told that this performer was pretty belligerent. Somebody from the show tried to step in and intervene. Security got involved. I'm just highly disappointed that somebody in a show at Kings Island wouldn't understand, how to work with an audience. They should be thrilled, excited. They should appreciate that there's a group of fans for their shows who want to see the shows, that enjoy the shows. One of their hobbies might be taking pictures. But if you're on stage, you're a performer, you're on stage. That's part of the deal. People are going to take your picture. People are going to take videos of the shows and that.
Yeah.
As long as it's permitted at the park. There was no reason whatsoever to act the way that this individual from the show did. And I know, some of them very upset about it. Park could lose season pass holders over it. Without people coming to watch the shows, that's the easiest budget cut there is, and things are going to get tighter, with Six Flags now with this merger and that. So if they have to cut things, well, entertainment could go. So I think if you're a performer and you can't handle people being regulars at the shows, taking pictures of the shows, get off the stage.
Yeah.
You don't belong there. You would never see this kind of behavior from a performer at Dollywood, Holiday World, Six Flags Fiesta Texas, the Busch Gardens parks, Kennywood. You just wouldn't see that. And if somebody did, they wouldn't be performing there anymore.
Yeah.
So just message to the cast. Appreciate the audience. They love what you're doing. This is how they choose to use their season pass. They buy their pass, they pay their money. If you have shows, they're allowed to go watch it. They're allowed to take pictures. Deal with it.
Yeah, I mean, it circles back to the whole season pass thing. It's like I'm sure that the performers, and Grant, we're talking probably about one, because we both know a ton of performers and none of them would act this way.
I've never seen anyone act that way.
I don't.
Years that I was a pass holder, I never saw it. Years I worked there, never saw it. And I think most of the ones that I, talked to always enjoyed having the regulars at the park. It was good to see, to see some familiar faces in that out there. But these are fans of your show. Value that, appreciate that. They could spend their money doing something else. And if I were these people, I would seriously consider, okay, instead of watching Kings Island shows, I'm going to go buy a pass to Dollywood, Holiday World, go to those parks, Kentucky Kingdom. Those performers, they'll appreciate my support. So if I was them, I'd be thinking that after the way it was told to me that this individual acted. So just very disappointed to see that happened at a place that I grew up going to, that I love, and that I worked there, and just to hear about this. And also, I'm friends with some of these people that got attacked. These are good people. They love the shows, and I'm just sorry that it happened to them.
What was like? I mean, I'm guessing everyone was okay. Like no punches were thrown, or
no punches were thrown. I don't know if the one hadn't intervened and security hadn't come over. Who knows? But I was heard, very belligerent, very harsh, very rude, and just came out of nowhere. And there's no place for that. And again, if you can't deal with people coming to the shows and taking pictures and that, get off the stage. You don't belong in a theme park show.
Same thing I say about, the ones in the park that want to try to sell you a season pass, and then as soon as they sell you the season pass, they don't want you anymore. You're in the wrong business. You have no business doing this. You should work at a gas station or something.
Right. So I don't want to go on a rant. It's just that enough different people kept hitting me with the same thing. And were you aware? And what do you think and stuff? And I just wanted, if those people who watch the shows and you were part of this group, just know that I've got your back, and I'm just disappointed that this happened to you guys.
Yeah. So hopefully it's just blatantly overblown, because I'd like to think it's not true, although it sounds like it might be. But hopefully whoever is involved was at the very least talked to about that.
And I don't know if they're still in the shows for the fall season or not, but based on if this is as described by several different people to me, is happening, that person shouldn't be there.
I agree. If security was involved, I'd like to think that there was some sort of report about it. I don't know that for a fact, but there's a lot of liability with one of the performers, getting in the face of somebody, especially because the Fest House, it doesn't hold a few people; it holds a lot of people. So that's Kings Island right there. You got to understand, and I think that sometimes.
I know these people were taken aback by it. They'd never, they've been watching shows for years. They'd never seen anything like this out of a performer. So, I appreciate that them, they felt they should share their story, their experience with me. Nobody asked me to come on Tower Topics and talk about it.
Yeah.
I just really, had a lot of time to just sit back and think about stuff, the last month with, going through the different, medical things and that I'm dealing with. So you have more time to think and process some different things. And this just started to bother me, just really like, why would this, why would they act that way? Why would they be so rude to people who love your show, love coming to the park for the shows, and that you should really just, appreciate that you have fans. I mean, these people think what you're doing, your show, is good enough to give their entertainment time and dollars to. So that's just sorry about the rant, but I just wanted to share that because, you know, that's one of the things that bothered me more than anything else I've ever heard about Kings Island.
Yeah. Well, okay. And I want to end this on a positive note that this is shocking because Kings Island performers today, yesterday, and probably in the future are talented. They're kind. They're outgoing. They're personable with the people that watch the shows. That's why this is shocking. So,
Mm-hmm.
I know that some of the performers do watch this, and this is certainly not an attack on you or any of your peers or anything like that. It's more of a disappointment because you guys have set such a standard that this is so shocking. But with that being said, this hopefully was isolated. Hopefully it'll never happen again. And hopefully whatever happened is resolved, because I believe that there's a misunderstanding of some sort, because why would they out of nowhere just, no one wants you to take pictures of them? And it's like, well, why didn't you say something?
Yeah, but it's not. It doesn't matter if no one wants them to. That's part of the deal. If you're a performer, you're allowed to take pictures. From the audience can take pictures of the show. So it's just deal with it.
No, I understand that, but I'm saying, like, it just as a general thing. Obviously, it's a different situation because it's a performer, and when you're on stage, you're on stage. You're a public person at that point. But to go from zero to hero as far as everything's fine and then I might punch you is completely irrational under almost any situation. But
yeah. But again, I just wanted, it's just one of those things that, like I said, it's disappointing to me that these people who love going to the park, love watching the shows, that they had to have that experience, that's how they're going to remember the country show.
Okay. Don, we're going to segue, and this is going to be the worst segue ever because that's not a very good example of what we're going to ask people to do at this point. So
what are we asking them to do?
So what we want you to do is, we did a couple episodes on this. It's a little bit of filler while I was gone, but we're going to start to integrate this into the shows more. But we want you to send us your Kings Island stories. Now, we don't want that as an example of a Kings Island story. That's an outlier. We're looking for positive. We're looking for memorable, nostalgic. You met your girlfriend there. You had your first blue ice cream, stuff like that. Take those stories and send them to Don Helbig at themeparksbydon.com. Send him an email with the subject. What do you want? Tower Topics as a subject?
Yeah, KI story for TT in the subject line. And just, that way I'll know that it's for that. And, we really enjoyed doing those episodes, sharing everybody's stories. And we got really good feedback about it. A couple of individuals that have listened to every single one of our podcasts told me that those were some of the most enjoyable for them, just hearing what everyone else thought about the park that they grew up and loved and, go to. So, we want your stories, and, we'll pick one or two every episode, and we'll read those toward the end. And, we want people to see, how Kings Island has, what it's meant to you in your life.
Absolutely. We'd love to hear those stories. And while you're telling those stories, what's a good t-shirt to wear?
Well, it's obviously a Tower Topics t-shirt. Comes in a Carolina blue, just $22. That includes your shipping. If you send us a direct message, or you can now just send that to that email address, donhelbig@themeparksbydon.com. Let us know that you're interested in a t-shirt. We will send you the QR code, and once the transaction goes through, it just takes a matter of days to get your shirt.
Yeah, fantastic. We'd love seeing them around. $22, including shipping. We'll be right back with the listener questions. All right, first listener question, JR from Piqua, Ohio. I grew up in the Paramount era and absolutely love the actors who dressed up in Star Trek costumes, along with all the items that were around the park, like the model ships on display. Any fun memories or stories you can share with us, Trekkies, centered around all of that? I actually I remember the Klingons walking around, but I barely remember that. Do you remember anything from it?
I do remember it, and for me, I don't have any what I would call, fun, memorable stories about it. But for me, having grown up with Kings Island since 1972, knowing it was Hanna-Barbera land, and just how, what the atmosphere and the vibe and everything was, to see Paramount come in and, kind of Paramount the park up a little bit and bring in, the Star Trek costumes and have those characters walking around. To me, it was just odd. It didn't feel like Kings Island, when I saw those characters. I mean, they were great. People love getting their photos and that with them, but it just wasn't what I grew up with, what I had been accustomed to. So to me, it was just kind of you know, uh, didn't really fit in with what the park was. So it's just odd for me that way. That's what I remember about them, is just how there was a disconnect there
Yeah,
for me.
also they Paramount got a Paramount in those days, which is different from Paramount now, which is two companies later. But Paramount also would dip their toe in a lot of cases and not go far enough. So they had Star Trek characters walking around, but they never really had a Star Trek experience, except for the Hilton in Las Vegas. My sister went to that twice. She's a big
Yeah.
Star Trek fan. Absolutely loved it. I think that she said they've changed it a couple times. One time it's like a motion sim kind of thing. Think like action theater. But I think they had a couple of different stories. I'm just like verbatim telling me what she told me about this years ago. But they had Quark's Bar from Deep Space Nine, I think, where they had Star Trek characters serving you drinks and stuff like that. So that's really the only memories that I have. But it would be really cool to see those guys walking around again. All right. Derek B. from Westchester, Ohio. I read on KI Central that a restructure is afoot in marketing, PR, social media, and with Six Flags. You read that on KI Central? Did you post that, Don?
No.
Maybe I did. Looks like a cost-saving move from where I sit based on how the job descriptions read for these newly created positions. What's your take on it, and what does it mean for the people in those positions at Kings Island and other Six Flags parks?
Well, Ryan, you and I talked about this when the merger talks first surfaced, and as it was, getting approved and then went through that. Anytime there's a merger, there's changes.
Mm-hmm.
And they talked about, all these different synergies and how they were going to combine things, and they were going to save $120 million or something in costs that they currently have, and that's going to come from the employee pool. With a lot of those savings. So we knew that something like that was going to happen. I think what, it looks, I haven't looked too deep into it, but I have had other people share with me, what they've been hearing from around the industry, with what Six Flags is doing with this. And it looks like there's going to be 3 different regions, and a number of the parks will be under each of the different regions. And they have the different brand teams, so kind of a similar approach, but they're taking PR, social media, things like that out of the park level, and there'll be these teams. So say Kings Island is in the Midwest division, and I don't know if that's the name, but I'm saying Midwest division, and they would be in there, Cedar Point, Canada's Wonderland, some other parks. There's Six Flags St. Louis, maybe Six Flags Great America. So they would be in that Midwest thing. There would be a director of public relations that would head up all the PR for those parks. He or she would have a team of some PR people that help them. But when there's new ride announcements, and that this team, members of that team, the PR director for that region would be the ones representing the park. If there's a crisis situation, something happens, an incident on a ride or something, this would come out of the team, not somebody that's individually based at the park anymore. Same thing with social media, where there would be a manager of PR, and then they would have a team of some people under them. Mm-hmm. So if that is in fact what is happening, and again, this is just different people from around the industry sharing with me have you heard what Six Flags is doing with these positions, that means there's going to be some people that aren't going to have a job. It was my understanding that everyone had, and if you worked in marketing, that you had to reapply for a position. So that means some positions are going to be eliminated, at the park level, and that's unfortunate. But that's the reality of any time that there's a merger. These things happen with any kind of brand. Doesn't matter what it is. Hotels merging that. There's combining of jobs, and some people are out. So they'll have these different teams, and some of those individuals that are still at the parks will be involved, and some of them won't. And that's just again, it's just what happens with the merger. And there's pros and cons to doing it that way. So we'll see, and again, it's just what we're hearing, and what we can kind of tell. I guess they had posted the job descriptions or something on their website. I haven't really taken a deep dive looking into what exactly that is. I saw a little bit, that there was that post on KI Central. I did see that posted, and but we knew, so there's no surprise on my end that that's what's going to happen. That's going to get restructured that way. Now, how long it takes to do that, I don't know. But there's some really good people that, if this is the way it's going to go, where they're combining that and they don't have people at the park level, there's some really good people that are going to be, on the outside looking in when this all gets done.
Yeah, I mean, it's the whole like brand team thing. I always thought was kind of messy, and I think that that's why like it just hasn't been the same for the past like 5 years or so. When it's the person in charge of marketing is out of Charlotte, and they collaborate with the other people, and they hand things down to Kings Island. Haven't stepped foot in the park in 8 months, and this is going to be that, but the person's also over 6 parks or 10 parks or something.
Exactly. And I do feel that, again, there are some pros to doing it that way, but the cons are, when you don't have a marketing director on site, and you can make adjustments on the fly with different things, you have a better feel what's going on in the park. You're just not getting a report the next morning of how everything went, the day before, what the sales look like for passes, or what the forecast is for the consumer demand, in the next couple of weeks. You're just looking at things like that. You're not there. You're not really involved. You're not out in the park. You're not really seeing who the guests are. You can look at the demographics, but you don't, there's a difference between looking at a number and then looking at people and things. So, some negative there with that, but they're going to have to cut costs. We knew that, and this is one way to go about it.
Yeah, that's one way. And it's funny that you talk about not knowing the people and stuff like that, because near and dear to my heart, Bill Mefford, I remember he said something to me years ago, and it didn't strike me until you complimented somebody else. And I don't want to put their name in here, but I was with him and I was assisting him with PR for the opening of a entertainment center in the Cincinnati area. And I remember him just 3 or 4 times during the whole like grand opening thing. He's like, look at all those people buying the hot dogs. Man, I bet they bought more cheeseburgers than hot dogs. And then it was, look at all the people watching over there. And it was just like, for me, it was just kind of like, he was just like talking to himself. And then you said something about like, another director at Kings Island that you worked for was like very good at people watching, and you made them akin to Bill Mefford in terms of you watch the people and you learn from what they do. It's like all those people are looking at the popcorn bucket, but no one's buying it. Like, is the price too high? Is it not positioned properly? That sort of stuff. Mm-hmm. You're going to entirely miss that one, because what are they going to do if they're working out of like a park or even working out of Charlotte or something? Are they going to base everything off of Carowinds? Because I have a feeling this is going to be office suits that do not step foot in the park.
Yeah. I mean, it's it's similar to like scouting in sports. Let's take baseball, for instance. You can read the scouting report and you can see what it says about a player, but you can tell more by going to watch them actually play.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, thank you for the question about mergers and acquisitions and layoffs. Appreciate that one.
I'm surprised we haven't had more merger questions. I really am. I thought we'd get a lot more of that. We did before it happened, but since it happened, there hasn't been too much.
Yeah, well, we got a lot of like, what does this mean for the Vortex plot? Like, we got a lot of that leading up to it, or are we going to see Batman next year? But now that it's done, people don't seem to like. Then again, we don't really have answers. I mean,
no,
you had to hedge everything with I'm hearing this when there were jobs posted, but you know how fungible this stuff is. So yeah, absolutely. All right, that's enough of this. I'm Ryan Sir, along with Don Helbig, and this is Tower Topics.